from careermap.co.uk. Welcome to our second live webinar today for day 2 of National Apprenticeship Week 2021. Today we are joined by the team from JTL. The team will be speaking today about their exciting apprenticeship opportunities and how you can potentially join them. Before we begin, if you look to the right of the presentation screen, you will see a chat facility. We are live, so ask any questions at any time. Feel free to make comments and ask questions about the presentation, and there will be time at the end for a full Q&A session. So guys, many thanks for joining us today. Before you begin the presentation, could you introduce yourselves and give us a little bit of an overview within your roles within JTL? Many thanks.
Hi, I'm Colin in the chat, but my name's Matt, JTL Training Officer. I look after electrical apprentices. So I just look after apprentices from the start of their apprenticeship all the way through to getting them assessed and completed. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat.
Good morning, my name's Lindsay and I work in the quality team at JTL. I work on the plumbing and building services apprenticeship specifically, and looking forward to any questions you might like to ask me. Enjoy the presentation.
Nikki, there? Can you hear us?
Hi there. Classic. Left myself on mute. Hi there. My name's Nikki. I work alongside Lindsay and I look after the electrical, fire and security and engineering apprenticeships. So same for Lindsay. Any questions, please feel free to ask.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I think we've got a short little video to play the guys now about JTL. So I'll start that now if you just want to turn your mics off for a second.
Established over 30 years ago by the Electrical Contractors Association and Unite the Union, JTL is a not-for-profit organisation offering apprenticeships, traineeships, assessment services and professional development training across the electrotechnical and mechanical engineering services sectors. JTL currently works with 8,000 learners and 3,800 employers across England and Wales in more than 100 locations. As an Ofsted recognised good provider and a registered charity, every penny JTL receives is reinvested in the training it offers. JTL has evolved to also provide a growing choice of professional development training for those already working within the industries. Diversity and quality are key to what JTL does, and it's delighted that its work in these areas has been recognised and rewarded. This is something that JTL intends to continue to focus on in the years ahead. The organisation was one of the first in the UK to receive the prestigious Leaders in Safeguarding mark for its approach and the effectiveness of its safeguarding arrangements. It's also proud to hold quality accreditations from a number of leading schemes. JTL has won numerous national awards as a learning provider, and learners are regularly in the news for their successes too. To find out more about what JTL does, please visit jtltraining.com.
Okay, so that was just a... Sorry, Simon.
No, sorry, I was just going to say, did you want to say something before we go into the full presentation?
Yes, so that was just a brief introduction to us, JTL, as a company. The next presentation will take you through more detail about the apprenticeships that we offer. Just before we hit play on that, though, you may have noticed we have a poll in the right-hand side of your screens. We're just interested in finding out whether you've already thought about doing an apprenticeship as a potential career option. So if you wouldn't mind answering that poll now, we'll just end that in a couple of minutes.
Okay, we'll go into the presentation video now.
Thanks.
Becoming a JTL apprentice. About JTL. JTL is the national provider of apprenticeship training programs. JTL was first established in 1990. We became a registered charity 10 years later. Being a charity means every penny we receive goes back into our training. What is an apprenticeship? Apprenticeships are government-funded programs that include a paid job. They involve on and off the job training, incorporating both technical knowledge and practical performance. Apprenticeships offer you the chance to gain a nationally recognised qualification. JTL offers apprenticeships at Level 2 and Level 3. Level 2 is an intermediate apprenticeship, which is equivalent to GCSE. Level 3 is an advanced apprenticeship, which is equivalent to A-level. Apprenticeships also contain transferable skills modules, and there will be a measurement of behavioural skills, for example, working reliably and accepting responsibility. The benefits of an apprenticeship. You can earn while you learn. Starting salaries are in the region of £21,000 per year for electricians, but earnings up to £32,000 and beyond are achievable once fully qualified. There's no debt at the end of an apprenticeship. You will gain valuable work experience and learn firsthand from experienced tradespeople. You will gain a practical skill as well as the knowledge behind it. Practical skills that you will gain will open up wider career opportunities. University is still an option after an apprenticeship. Sometimes an employer will fund a university course. We offer apprenticeships in electrical engineering at Level 3, plumbing and heating, the new standard, at Level 3, building services engineering at Levels 2 and 3, and property maintenance operative at Level 2. The Electrical Engineering Level 3 Advanced Apprenticeship lasts 4 years and covers a wide range of units, including health and safety in the workplace, the installation and maintenance of electrical systems, and how to diagnose and correct faults. Your apprenticeship will be complete when you pass the endpoint assessment and portfolio of evidence. Qualified electricians will install, maintain and repair electrical systems, inspect and test electrical installations, work indoors and outdoors and sometimes at height, read building and engineering drawings, understand wiring and circuit diagrams and sometimes work away from home. The qualification you will receive on successful completion of this apprenticeship is a Level 3 electrotechnical qualification in installation or in maintenance. You will also have the opportunity, if required, to pass English and Mathematics functional skills at Level 2. Plumbing and heating, the new standard at Level 3, otherwise known as one qualification for many careers. The new Level 3 Plumbing and Domestic Heating apprenticeship combines a variety of courses that were previously run as individual qualifications. It allows you to train for several career roles at the same time, such as plumber, domestic heating engineer, domestic heating installer, plumbing and domestic heating installer, and plumbing and domestic heating engineer. This course will usually take 48 months, which is 4 years, to complete. You will choose an individual pathway and build on-site performance evidence during your apprenticeship. The training is coupled with maths and English and includes end-of-year phase tests throughout the 4-year course. All learners must complete a standard endpoint assessment or EPA to achieve the Level 3 apprenticeship. Achievement is graded at fail, pass, merit or distinction. We offer 3 apprenticeship courses in Building Services Engineering at Level 2 and Level 3. These are Building Services Engineering Installer at Level 2, Building Services Engineering Craftsperson at Level 3, Building Services Engineering Service Maintenance Engineer, which has no mandatory qualification. Building Services Engineers work on large-scale industrial and commercial systems found in office blocks, factories, schools and hospitals, such as heating, chilled water, hot water and cold water systems. Building Services Engineering apprenticeships cover 2 distinct job roles, that of an installer and of a craftsperson. An installer installs components of these systems. They have a basic knowledge of these systems and how the components within them relate to each other. Installers can work within new build construction sites and within existing buildings under close but not constant supervision. A craftsperson undertakes the installation, testing, pre-commissioning, commissioning and decommissioning of these systems. They have a detailed knowledge of how these systems operate. Service and maintenance engineers, on the other hand, play a key role in planning and completing a range of maintenance work on these systems. This can include electrical isolation, disconnection, reconnection and reactivation. This standard lasts 4 years and has no mandatory qualification at the end. JTL partner colleges have structured programs of teaching to develop and achieve the skills, knowledge and behaviours required by the standard. The Property Maintenance Operative Level 2 apprenticeship is designed for those wishing to gain the technical knowledge and practical skills required to work within the property maintenance industry, in job roles like maintenance assistant, facilities assistant, maintenance technician, caretaker or janitor. Property maintenance operatives work in a wide variety of sectors including housing, healthcare, social care, hospitality, education, leisure and retail. The main role is to ensure the properties they maintain are in a good condition and that everything works properly and adheres to health and safety guidelines. The qualification you will gain is the City and Guilds Level 2 Diploma in Property Maintenance, which is professionally recognised by the British Institute of Facilities Management and provides associate mentorship for the apprentice while studying. The availability of this course is currently limited to specific areas of the country, so please contact us for details of course locations or to express your interest. JTL also offers traineeships. Traineeships are a stepping stone onto an apprenticeship and are a great way to discover if you want to progress to an apprenticeship in a particular trade. You get to try it out before you sign up for the full course. They last for 10 weeks on average, with around 6 weeks spent in the classroom where you will learn about good CV writing, interview skills, health and safety knowledge and knowledge of the relevant industries amongst other things. You will then have around 4 weeks work experience with an employer where you will begin to learn some on-the-job practical knowledge. Traineeships are currently available through JTL in Birmingham, Nottingham and in Ashford and Orpington in Kent. How we teach. JTL has its own training centres across the country and has partnerships with over 100 colleges across England and Wales. The main apprenticeship start dates are in September and January to coincide with college intakes, but we recruit throughout the year. Teaching is delivered in either a block release or day release format. Each apprentice has an experienced training officer dedicated to supporting them throughout their apprenticeship. All apprentices will develop a portfolio of their work over the course of their apprenticeship. Let's find out what some of our apprentices think of their training.
So far, I think my apprenticeship has been going really well and I've been really enjoying it.
My apprenticeship so far has been really good. I've learnt a lot of new things and I've really tested myself.
I've really enjoyed my apprenticeship. It's given me a really good start in life at my young age. Being able to earn money and save money at 17 is such a massive thing.
Made quite a few new friends and have enough money to enjoy myself at the weekend.
The guys at JTL have been really supportive and helpful. My boss has been really good helping me learn as I go along.
It's really good. The tutors are really helpful and very knowledgeable as well.
I've realised it's a lot more difficult than I first imagined, but if you're willing to put in the learning and the effort, it is very rewarding, especially, the money's alright.
It's been good. I'm learning a lot, I'm learning fast, and hopefully one day I'll be as good as the people that are teaching me.
How to apply. You can apply online, but you will need to pass JTL's online tests. The online application can be found on the JTL website. We do not accept applicants based on their GCSE results, but instead on successfully passing our online tests. The best option is to find an employer first. You can find tips on how to find an employer on the JTL website. Unfortunately, if you're colourblind, you cannot apply to become an electrician due to health and safety reasons, as electrical wiring is colour-coded. To find out more about JTL, our apprenticeship programmes and how to apply, please visit our website www.jtltraining.com. Please also like our Facebook and Twitter pages. Thank you for watching this presentation.
Guys, did you want to do a little sort of presentation now on how people can use the JTL website to find and apply for vacancies?
Hi there, Nikki speaking. I have messaged some of you from the chat already. I'm literally just going to share my screen with you if that's okay. She says, let me just bring the other one on. So I'm happy to put the link into the chat, or if one of my colleagues can do that for me, so you've got that sort of in there. But our application process is pretty straightforward. You basically set yourself up an account, and if you even just pop in JTL and applications or registration, it should come up as one of the top Google searches as well. So you can go in and register your details. Pretty much, in fact, I think I'm right in saying now all of our qualifications we work with as well will also need you to do a colour blindness test. There are some maths and English assessments as well, and what we call an aptitude test. There is a little bit of maths in that one too. Please, I'm just going to say that be sensible when you take them. Make sure it's a little bit quiet, and you put a little bit of thought in there. Although we can let you retake them if you don't pass them, the pass marks are fairly high, so do take it seriously when you're going through there, because we can only reset it once. You'd literally have to wait 12 months then. So yeah, definitely take your time when you're doing them. They are timed as well though, so when I say take your time, you haven't got an unlimited amount to sit there for several hours sort of working out what the answers might be. And these will form part of what we'll call your initial assessment as well. So we'll know where we'll be able to support you. We're not expecting you to necessarily have grade 4 maths and English or above as you come into us, whereas some colleges might do. That's not to say we're sort of the place to come to only if you get a lower grade by any stretch of the imagination, but we will support you with your maths and English if needs be, because you do actually need to have it at least at the equivalent of grade C or grade 4 and above before you actually sort of come to the end of your qualification. From that little video you've seen as well, they do sort of last, on the whole, the plumbing and the electrical are 4 years. If you haven't done any beforehand at college, then they might be a little bit shorter if you've already done a technical certificate at college. But that's something like the property maintenance is only 12 to 18 months long, so obviously you'd have to get onto your English and maths exceptionally quickly. But we will work with you, so that, because it will help your college work as well. When you're doing your college work and you're putting sort of your portfolio of evidence together, your written work, it's certainly going to help to have a good level of maths and English. And there's a lot of maths, especially in electrical. There's no point in hiding from that. It is quite an important part of the qualification, and if you have got a reasonable level of maths, that will definitely make your life easier. For those of you who've mentioned in the chat as well, you're potentially looking at engineering. Again, same thing. There's a high level of maths involved in engineering, and it's certainly going to help if you have got a good level of maths coming into it as well. So yeah, you don't need to hesitate as well. Even if you were, say, in year 11 now, there's nothing stopping you going in and getting your application ready and prepared. And again, I noticed some of you saying you're struggling to find employers. The earlier you get onto that as well, that's going to make a huge difference. We're very different to many colleges as well. So many colleges will only start you in September. Don't panic if you don't find an employer by September, because some of our colleges will work with us and some of our own centres as well, because we do have a little bit of a mix. Sometimes we'll work with your local college and you'll be able to attend your lessons there. Sometimes you will actually come to a JTL training centre, depending on where you live. Either way round, we can usually start you at any time of the year as well. So again, don't think because you've missed out for the September start that means that you can't start for the rest of the year. Quite a lot of our colleges have sort of November, January intakes. Some of our centres have even taken up until April in the year. So yeah, please don't give up because you struggled to find an employer. Again, for a couple of you, I have emailed you sort of privately and sent you back a chat message. There's a couple of options. Go and look at industry sites as well. So there are partners we work with, like the NECEIC for electrical. There are engineering trades, there are plumbing trades like WaterSafe, other organisations. Go and have a look at who their members are. They're quite a good way. If you were looking as if you were a customer, you can actually find, sort of potential employers in your area by looking at who customers would be finding to go and do work in their homes. So being sort of tactful about the way that you try and find potential employers can be really helpful. Make sure you've got a good CV as well. You are dealing with trades. They work very differently. This isn't like applying for an office job by any stretch of the imagination, but you do need to be fairly proactive. I work with a lot of employers and they'll say things like, they sent me the CV and then I never heard anything from them. Sort of show you're positive, show that you're sort of energized and you're likely to be that really eager employee. Follow it up with a phone call and say, hi, I sent my CV a few days ago. Have you had a chance to look at it? But please do bear in mind as well, a lot of these employers, especially the very small companies, are very busy. They can literally be out doing very long days, come home and then they're doing their invoicing and replying to voicemails and things like that. So if they don't get back to you straight away, don't necessarily give up. You don't want to pester them either because they're going to think, who's this annoying person? But yeah, don't give up if you can't get hold of them. Showing that you are eager without being annoying can be a really beneficial trait for you as well. So hopefully that answers a little bit. If I sort of go back to you,
Nikki.
Yeah.
Just quickly on that, could you just go back to the JTL page for us?
Okay, let me share my screen.
I just want to show everyone on our website where they could also, if the vacancies we've got posted, because also, as Nikki said, if you're looking for an apprenticeship, one of the best ways is to find an employer. So go for local employers using the NIC website, or even just searching on Google. So if you find an employer that's looking, then you can put that on your application with us, so it will highlight to us. Some employers we do work with. We work with quite a lot of employers across the country, and they will signpost us to you the other way around as well. But if you are still struggling to find an employer or vacancy, you can, on our website, we do have a live vacancies list that you can access. And Nikki will just show this.
Fingers crossed, that's what you can now see.
Just at the bottom, I believe. So if you're still struggling, you contact employers, you can use the vacancies on here. This is from the national vacancies on the website, on the government website. So these are a list of all the things. The wage that you see there is a weekly wage, and you just apply to it like a normal job. Go there, you'll have interviews, you'll get trials, and then you decide from that process, really. So that is one of the best ways to find it if you haven't been able to approach employers. Like Nikki said, if you want to approach employers, give them a phone call. Phone calls is sometimes better, or email and then follow it up with a phone call to show that you're interested, maybe leave a week between them. But if you're still struggling, just give our recruitment team a call and they might signpost you to a training officer in the area who might be able to help.
Just a quick one, guys. On your website, is there anywhere for potential apprentices to sort of sign up for job alerts or anything like that? Register their interest or anything?
No, there isn't, but I quite like that idea. So I'm going to actually take that back to our marketing team. Interestingly, we're dependent on the apprenticeship service website, and sometimes as well, there have been historically, since they've been doing this for the last year, there have been difficulties in getting some of those live. So again, don't think that they are the only ones. Lindsay's just messaged me and said you do actually get alerts once you've applied as well. Don't give up as well just because you've looked 1 week. Keep a regular eye on what's out there and what you can actually who's actually advertising, because we tend to try and ask them to keep them live for at least a week. I'm just trying to find you the free phone number on here. She says it's hiding. So there's a free phone number down there, the 0800 085 2308, and we do actually have a recruitment team. So that's on the bottom left where it says join the mailing list as well. We do have a recruitment team who can help support you as well, and to try and get you to what we call approved status. So approved status in our language means that you've gone onto the apply page, so the one we looked at just now, you've completed all the different parts of there, you've done your CV, you have completed your colour vision exam. So basically there's a form that you can download, and again, for some of you, I've actually sort of sent that over to you as well. It looks like that, so you can actually take that to an optician's, and even sort of with a national lockdown, you'll find a lot of opticians are open. It's worth your while trying to get these things done and out of the way, because if you are completely ready, there'll be a difference for employers of that difference between someone who's applied to them who hasn't done all of those things and needs to start from scratch, and there will be the potential apprentices who've already gone through the whole application process and sort of already filled out their colour vision with the opticians and done all of those parts, and they will ask us those questions, who's approved already. So it's worth getting yourself sort of set up and ready. And again, for those of you I've messaged, and as I said to you just now, you don't need to hold on until you finish school to do that. You can do that a bit earlier. Or if you were at college, say with electrical, you were doing your level 1, level 2 technical certificate at college. I think Matt might say something about that in a second, because you don't actually need to do those technical certificates. Initially, you can come straight in and do the level 3. That's what we do. We would take you from the age of 16 and you can start straight on your level 3 and start it as an apprenticeship rather than doing your level 1 and your level 2 at college as well. Meant in a nice way, it can basically save you 2 years of your life, and means you're going to be qualified 2 years earlier as well. And they don't kind of shorten the length of your qualification in any way as well. So it's definitely worth your while looking at going straight into the level 3 and doing it as an apprenticeship. From straight away is the nicest way I can word that.
Yeah, I'll jump in with that, Nikki. So as Nikki said, if you've already got, I see some questions, some people have already got a level 2 and level 3 qualification. If you've got a level 2 and level 3 qualification, we can still sign you up. It just means you won't have to go back to college to do everything. You'll do what they call some bridging units. So you would have achieved your level 2 and level 3 in one qualification, but the qualification that's running at the moment might be a different type. So we do what they call bridging units to make them the same. So that would be a little bit of college work you'd have to do. And then you would just do the MVQ portfolio of the apprenticeship and the endpoint assessment and the other bits that make up the apprenticeship. So you're dependent on the experience you've got. So if you've been doing your level 2 and level 3 and been working on site, you might not need to be signed up onto the program as long as someone who'd not done any experience on site. It's all down to how much experience you've got in relation to your knowledge. So it's competence, so the ability on site you've got and your knowledge have to be of a similar level before we can put you through to say you're competent on your MVQ and to put you into the endpoint assessment at the end of the apprenticeship.
Just a quick one from me, guys, while we're talking about the application process, etc. Obviously, with COVID, etc., what's happened over the last sort of 12 months has been a reduction in the number of vacancies. I'm assuming you would have seen maybe an increase in application numbers coming through for each vacancy. How can the guys watching this sort of stand out from the crowd? Have you got any sort of top tips of the ideal candidate you'd look for, and what can they put in their CV, to help them get noticed, I suppose?
Okay, you okay for me to answer that one, guys?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so personally, I would suggest if you haven't done level 1 and level 2, again, you don't necessarily have to, so don't think that's what you need to go out and do. Do try and get yourself some local work experience if you can. So some employers, especially if you've got a family friend or a neighbour, it's not that simple for a very small business to just take someone in and give them work experience. So that's probably why it's more difficult for you to find that. But it's anything you do working with your hands. So make sure you emphasise, say you like, I don't know, doing a bit of carpentry work, small electrics with a family friend, or you've worked on site, you've done some construction, so it means you understand a little bit of, sort of labouring work and a bit of site health and safety. Show those linked skills that you've got, especially things like doing things with your hands and those sort of technical skills in that respect as well. Anything you've done that can link, even if it's been outside of the workplace and it has been helping family or friends on a project, make sure you get those down, because that sort of dexterity and being able to use your hands is definitely something that some employers will be looking for as well. Quite simply, it sounds bonkers potentially, but can you use a hammer? Can you use a screwdriver? Have you ever used a drill? Yeah, they seem like simple things, but they are actually very important when you're looking at such practical trades.
Yeah, and just bearing in mind when it comes to looking for employers and vacancies, generally this time of year is quieter. It normally ramps up towards Easter through to the summer. But some employers will be looking at the moment, because there is incentives in place for them to take on apprentices at the moment. So I'd say keep looking at the moment, but if you can't see anything currently, don't be disheartened. Use the Easter holidays as a kind of guide. From then onwards, employers do start to come to us and say they're looking, and we, as myself as a training officer, the employers I work with, that's normally the point I start speaking to them to find out if they're looking to take anyone on. Because generally, most of the colleges we deal with all start in September, the odd one or two start in January.
Okay, thanks, guys. Do you have anything more to show, or did you want to go into the Q&A now?
No, happy to go to the Q&A if everyone else is. Unshare my screen for you as well.
Cheers. Okay, so I'll go through some of the chat questions that we've had come in, and feel free to shout who wants to answer which one. So Leah says, hi, how can I get a plumbing apprenticeship? Do only small companies offer? I'm struggling to find one.
Again, Leah, it will depend on where in the country you're living, but do bear in mind that there are some massive companies that employ as well. Try some of the bigger building companies, and actually things like housing associations as well can be very good at taking on apprentices. Especially say sort of something like the plumbing. You're absolutely right. It does tend to be an awful lot of smaller companies, but by no means is it only the small ones. We have some big national employers that do take on. That definitely tends to happen more in the electrical than the plumbing. So it is difficult. There are a lot of changes that have happened with plumbing as well, so don't take it personally. Plumbing used to be a separate level 2 and a level 3. There's a lot of changes that the employers are having to get their heads around from last year, where it suddenly became a level 3 only, and it became, instead of 2 2-year apprenticeships, it became 1 4-year apprenticeship. So there will be a lot of things that employers are probably trying to work their heads around as well. And it depends on how COVID's potentially affected their businesses. Some might be hanging on right now to make sure that the business is strong, and that they've got the amount of work they need to have and the financial resources behind them to ensure that they can take somebody on and commit to that for full 4 years. So it is going to be slightly more difficult in some years. That said, some businesses are actually much busier than they were before, and they're frantic to get through the amount of work that they actually have coming their way. And that actually might be sometimes why you're not getting response, is actually they're too busy. So there's a whole combination of reasons. It depends on whether they're doing domestic work, commercial work, who their customer base is, and that in itself can make a difference to how busy they are and how much there is a need for an apprentice for them. A lot have apprentices year on year, every single year, that their business works through supporting having apprentices. These are trades where pretty much every employee you work with will have been through an apprenticeship themselves. It's very different to doing work in other industries. So they get it, that if those opportunities aren't there for people of any age, I would say young people, but actually for people of any age doing an apprenticeship, there wouldn't be those qualified trades out there, basically. So don't give up, but do try some of those bigger companies as well. It's not just the little ones that do offer apprenticeships.
Just on the bigger companies, are you allowed to say any names for the guys to go and research, or is there a list of some of these bigger employers that they're, on the website, on the internet, that they might be able to find anywhere? Do you know?
Yeah, some of them will actually post their vacancies on their own website, so you will find that as well. Yes, you've got the National Apprenticeship website, but some will have those apprenticeship vacancies on their own websites as well. So where I've said some of the national building companies, some of the housing associations, do have a look at their individual websites as well. Have a little look, do a Google search, have a look at who's in your area. And you might well find that they have posts. Some will offer national posts as well. So again, if you can start thinking about the possibility of driving, that could be another huge benefit for you as well. If somebody knows you're already undertaking lessons, again, I get the COVID side, that's easier said than done. And it's definitely causing, without question, issues for some people at the moment, but just that motivation to learn how to drive, because within a couple of years you're going to need to be going out and going onto site yourself. Many of our roles do mean a lot of travel. Don't get me wrong, there are some that are site based, some of the engineering roles, you might sometimes find you're only in one factory or warehouse, for example, and you're based in one place. But for an awful lot of our trades, travel is included, and ultimately they're going to want you to be independent, potentially have your own van and go out there and go to site on your own. So if you're showing that willingness to drive, or showing how eager you are to learn how to drive, that could be a huge boost as well. But yeah, look on their websites, look directly. Just that National Apprenticeship website is not the only place. We encourage employers to sort of put them through there, and we actually support them to put those advertisements on the National Apprenticeship Service website, but don't think that's the only place by any stretch of the imagination.
Also, just jump in there, if you've got local electrical wholesalers near to you, or plumbers merchants, go into those places, ask the guys behind the counter, because they get companies coming in daily. Say, is there any companies that that would be looking for an apprenticeship, or is there any ones that you could give me the name of, and then you can use that as local companies to contact.
Good show, Matt. Thanks. Question here. Somebody's saying, I'm doing an engineering course at college, which will get me an extended diploma. Saying I can go to uni, but I'd like to explore other options. Have you guys got a sort of list of pros and cons of doing an apprenticeship over uni? Some of the sort of benefits of why people should consider an apprenticeship instead of going to university?
I think it's exactly that. There are pros and cons. We don't do engineering across the whole country, so where you live might be a limiting factor on that. I personally think one of the huge advantages of doing an apprenticeship over going to uni is that you don't have the student debt, so you're getting paid to learn while you earn, which is a lovely phrase you'll keep hearing repeated, but it means you can get yourself to level 3 and get your Eng Tech qualification alongside that as well. And there's a level 3, it's it's an engineering technician is the main sort of level 3 that you'll come across now. They've kind of merged all the different variations that you can do. So, you know, have a look, because you will also find, not trying to put you off coming to us, but there can be an advantage on the engineering. Some people, if you've already, say, got A levels, will take you on to do your engineering degree fully funded as well. So have a look at your options that are out there. You're absolutely right to say, you know, look at what you can possibly do, but you might find doing the level 3 engineering with us would lead you into being accepted to doing that degree in engineering, but again, potentially funded. It is one of those ones you commonly find employers are so eager to have, you know, sort of trained engineers that they will actually use their own funding pots towards training qualifications to actually put someone through a degree level qualification as well. Possibly more common than other things, to be fair. So yeah, definitely have a look out there. But I would say if you can't get into doing or you don't have the right level of qualifications they're asking for to go into a degree apprenticeship, then certainly looking at starting out by doing the apprenticeship first at level 3 will not bode badly for you in applying for those degree apprenticeships afterwards. But again, you might find you don't need to get any student debt from doing it. You might find it's fully funded for you.
Exactly, that's the main benefit, isn't it, of a degree apprenticeship? There's actually no debt involved at all, which is pretty amazing, really. And that just leads me on to degree apprenticeships. That's something JTL sort of currently involved with a lot at the moment, or is it something you're planning to get involved with?
No, we did sort of test the water a little bit looking at the engineering side, but for now we haven't done. Again, we'll happily support any of our apprentices to sort of progress after they've finished with us, but at the moment we only do go up to a level 3.
Okay. Mohammed said, if someone has finished electrical apprenticeship, can that person study or get an apprenticeship for civil or structural engineering?
I'm going to answer that one as well. Okay. Okay. So again, there's absolutely no reason why not. I think having going into sort of the civil and structural engineering side, it's not gonna do you any harm showing you've got that site experience and things, and might, again, same answer as for the engineering side. You might find that there are degree apprenticeships you can go into that you're going to have an advantage of, that you've got that site experience to go into as well. So it won't do you any harm. What I would say is literally go and do a search, have a look at civil and structural engineering roles, and have a look at what people are advertising and saying people need. And you know, there's some really good sites there for looking at what your options are for going into those route ways as well. You have also got the let me just check I'm using the right phrase for it. The Institute for Engineering and Technology, I think it is.
The IET.
Yeah, the IET.org, which again, in fact, if I find that, I'll pop the link in for you into the chat. It will not do you any harm at all to have a look at what they're recommending, because you're looking at something sort of fairly specific from that. I've put that link into the chat for you. Yeah, have a look at what they're recommending you go into, but do look at those vacancies and see what they're asking for as well.
Okay, thanks, Nikki. Joel says, hi, I'm looking for an electrician or plumbing apprenticeship. I have a level 3 qual, but not in these subjects.
Okay, it will depend on what you've done, but it won't do you any harm at all. So there's nothing. It used to be that if you'd done a level 3 and it had been funded, that you couldn't do anything else. Thankfully, the rules have changed. If you know, say you've done, I don't know, for example, you've done sports studies or something, there's nothing stopping you coming and doing an apprenticeship in anything else you want to anymore, which is a really nice thing. If you want to change trade, it's perfectly practical. The issue is, can you afford to live on an apprenticeship rate for the extra amount of time, I suppose, more than anything, because as we get older, we tend to have more financial responsibilities. And that's sometimes the only whole factor that can hold people back. But there's no reason at all that you can't come in and do an electrical apprenticeship in the slightest. No reason at all.
Okay, Dinesh, I think you might have covered a little bit on this, but can you offer help with finding an apprenticeship? I've approached lots of employers, but all have said no due to COVID.
Okay, Dinesh, all we could really say is, like we've gone over, like we've mentioned, is just keep looking at the vacancies. Go into local wholesalers and things, just keep contacting them. It probably just be because there some employers, they found a slowdown of work and nothing's starting, others are really busy, so it's just pot luck really at the time. But just keep looking. Register on our website as an applicant, and then you'll be able to see the vacancies and things. So just keep looking.
Okay, cool. How many apprentices do JTL sort of recruit a year is another question.
Roughly 2,000 is my easiest answer. So it varies anywhere between sort of 1,750 to along those lines. Again, interesting where you're talking about recruitment numbers and how difficult it is. Interestingly, we basically had no difference in apprentice numbers this year. Our hard bit's getting them started with not being able to go out onto site, so we've had a few difficulties there, but in terms of actual numbers, it's not basically been much different to a normal year. So again, don't give up is the answer that we've sort of, I suppose, repeated a couple of times. Although you might be finding it difficult, Matt was completely right. There are some employers who are just so busy right now. I suppose what you've got to think about with these trades is, so for some of us domestically, people might be tight for money. For some people, they've not gone on holiday though, so they might have additional money that they didn't have beforehand. So they've been doing maintenance, repairs, extensions to their homes, things like that. You've got the other side of commercial buildings, that some of those you think there's a lot of offices that haven't had any staff in. So maybe going in, and again, I'll use an electrical example, going in and doing a full rewire that they might have had plans for 3-4 years time. Means that the tradesman can go in there and just do that without disturbing the workplace, can do the work during the day, whereas they might have really struggled to do that whilst it had all the employees in. So actually for some people it's sped work up. They've done a lot of maintenance, a lot of planned maintenance that was coming through, and it sped up the programme of work that they were expecting to have beforehand. So yeah, some people are a lot busier. So definite pros and cons without question.
Brilliant, thank you. So got a few more questions here. Someone asks, how long does an apprenticeship last?
I'll jump in here. So electrical and plumbing, now 4-year apprenticeships. You will do, let's just give you a little run through over it. Electrical, you will do either 3 years at college on a day release scenario, or 2 years on a block release. You're going for like a week a month over 2 years. Plumbing again would be either a block release or a day release program. Once you finish college, you'll then go on to do your MVQ portfolio, which is where someone like myself, an assessor, will come out on site and observe you doing some work and make up part of your NVQ. That would be in the 3rd and 4th year of your apprenticeship. And then towards the end of the 4th year, you'll do what they call the endpoint assessment, which is a assessment in a centre over a set period of time, covering everything you've learned over the 4 years. And once that is finished, you would be qualified as either an electrician or a plumber.
Thanks, Matt. How much will they get paid? There's another one.
Okay, so you're at least going to get minimum wage for an apprentice, but some employers do choose to pay more. We encourage it. It's going to be what's affordable. The other thing is that it's very much encouraged that every year your pay goes up as well. So as you gain more skills, more experience, and you're able to do more independently, I suppose the nice way of wording this is you have more value to that business, so they tend to pay you more on an annual basis. I think what you have to bear in mind is a lot of people think, and I hear these phrases said to me all the time, is, oh, I'm cheap labour. Believe me, you're not. You actually can make an employer have to take twice as much time to do a simple task, because they're having to show you, they're having to repeat things over again. They might need to take out the work you've done and get you to restart it because something was done wrong. And look at whether it's plumbing or electrical, you can't leave a leak there. If it's plumbing, you can't leave a live wire or something being connected incorrectly that could cause problem, a fire later on. So everything has to be done correctly. So it's taking an awful lot of time and an awful lot of resource to train you. So don't think of yourself as cheap labour, please. Actually, it's a massive input from an employer to take on an apprentice and to spend that time training you how to do the job like they would like it to be done to their standards, and to the national standards as well, which is the whole point of an apprenticeship. So again, the better you become and the quicker you learn, the more likely it is that your pay is likely to go up as well. Some of our fourth year apprentices, for example, are on more than we advertise as our experienced rate of pay, like that we advertise as £32,000. Some of our fourth years are on more than that because they're getting paid for the hours they're doing. They're doing long days, they're working hard. There's a company that Matt works, for example, so I know he's very close to this. They are based in a region but do a lot of work in London. Their staff, and they take on males and females as well, every single year. They have about 55 apprentices, so it's a very big organisation, but they're going into London most days from Oxfordshire, and they take on staff from sort of north of London, in central London, down towards Kent. You know, there are learners from the whole region going into there as well, but they're being paid for their travel time as well. So, you know, if they're leaving at, don't want to scare you, but 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, being into central London for 6:30, 7 o'clock to start, they might be finishing at 3, but by the time they got out of traffic, they're not getting back till 5, 6. They're doing long days, but they're getting rewarded for that as well. So actually the pay is going to massively vary, but it's not the only thing to think about. Don't just look at the pay. You need to look at the experience that you're getting and the amount of skills you're going to learn from that employer. Some employers are exceptionally good at training people to be very, very, very good in their trade. And it's about that, I suppose, that end point that you're looking at as well, that end goal. An advantage of leaving straight from school is you've never had that money in the first place. So starting out on apprenticeship rate is still an awful lot better off than you're going to be from earning absolutely nothing. I would say if you are older and you maybe run your own flat, or you know you have a young child and you do have other responsibilities, don't be afraid to discuss it. Because again, it's more likely it's going to be a family member or a friend or someone who knows someone else, but they might well negotiate with you. But you have got to be realistic. You know, initially you're not making the money, you're costing the money. It's the nicest way I can word it.
Thank you for that. So we also get a lot of these questions specifically for these type of roles. Do they have to be able to drive? Is there a driving license, you know, and you have to have one to apply for these sort of vacancies or not?
As I said just now, there's an advantage if you can, without question. You know, it definitely is worth something considering, and it's worth, when you're looking at your own budgets and what you're spending, looking at the, you know, how much you save towards driving lessons, and or again, if you've got family or friends that can train you, absolutely brilliant, you know, do it, but do invest in yourself, because it's going to make a huge difference to the amount you can earn later on if you're actually driving. Some will specify yes, but let's be realistic. If you're a 16-year-old, you're not even going to get your provisional license till you're 17 anyway, so they are not going to expect you coming in with a driving license.
Some of them, just on that, if they, as Nikki said, if you're 16, they're not going to expect you to be able to drive. All they would, some employers would expect, is for you to either get to a drop-off location, or they may even pick you up from your house, but it's dependent on the employer and the scenario. So you might have to get to the local train station where they'll pick you up, or just the end of your road or something along those lines. So it's just making sure you can get to a pickup point.
Thanks, guys. Another one is, with regarding costs, does it cost people anything to do these apprenticeships? Do they need to buy all their own equipment and tools and stuff like that?
No costs involved at all to an apprentice. It's all the only costs that I'd say they could incur is if they need to buy some tools. With JTL, we do offer them a toolkit at some point in the first year, but they should get us tools to begin with. Don't spend loads of money, but it's more for your own progression anyway. Once you've started, you'll kind of find yourself wanting to buy the new shiny tools that you see. So it's like myself, when I did my apprenticeship, I started with a small toolkit and then went from there. So you'll build it up as you go along, but that's the only cost. And you're looking at, you could probably buy a small toolkit, plumbing, electrical, for easily under £50 is what you'd need, and then you can build on it from then.
Brilliant. Some people have said, what are the options after I finish my apprenticeship? And, am I sort of guaranteed a job? A few questions that we get asked quite a lot.
If you are, a lot of companies will, most of the time, you'll just carry on with that company if you want to. Some companies will do like an apprenticeship contract, and then once you qualify, you'll then move on to a full employment type contract. It's different. Some of my apprentices, they'll choose to stay on with the companies. Others will go self-employed. Others will go and work for other people. So it's a big mixture. Generally, though, in my experience, all of the companies I deal with, the apprentices have all stayed on with that company, or of their own accord decided to move on to become self-employed or do something else, because that's the benefit of the apprenticeship of doing electrical or plumbing. You can go around the world if you wanted to. You want to go to Australia and become an electrician, or you could, a company I used to deal with, you can go to do an exhibition at the Geneva Motor Show, or go to Las Vegas and do an exhibition down there. So there's definite benefits and different things when you do these apprenticeships. It can open up a lot of different doors.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, a couple more questions. So what's the difference between JTL and a local college?
Okay, I'll take that one. So what you'll tend to find with your college, and again, this isn't, these are just options that when you've left school, you can look into and you can do whichever one sort of suits and appeals to you, is they will tend to, so it doesn't always happen, but they will tend to take you through your level 1, your level 2, and potentially your level 3 technical certificate. What they don't do, though, is give you an apprenticeship in the same way. Some do, but we quite often end up finding that people end up doing those technical certificates and then ask us to help them to, I think the best way I can word it is convert it into an apprenticeship, which means that you've done the college side of things. Matt mentioned this earlier, there might be some gaps, so it might mean you've done that certificate, but we might have to do something we call bridging units. So a common one that's missing for plumbing and electrical can sometimes be an environmental unit, for example. So we might need to have a little bit of college that you need to do with us or with a local college that we work with, and we will actually send the likes of Matt, bless him. He will come out and do observations with you. So they will actually come onto site, the training officer, and they will come out and see how you actually put those skills that you've learnt along with the work experience you've had with your employer to the test when you're actually out there. Are you competent, basically? Have you been able to put all those skills and all that learning into good practice when you're out on site, and to a point where it would be safe for you to actually go out and do that work for yourself. Matt also mentioned the endpoint assessment. So things have changed over the last few years. There are endpoint assessments which can sometimes last up to a couple of days. So again, the important thing is for your employer, for yourself and your training officer to get to a point where you decide that you're ready for that point in time. You've had those observations done, you've finished all your college work. Are you ready to go and take their assessment? You you kind of like can get it converted, but you know, it will save you a bit of time, but it's still going to take you a year or so at least, if not a couple of years, to get qualified once you've done those technical certificates at college. Again, I'm not saying it's the right way or the wrong way. Personally, I think we start at level 3 for that electrical. Why would you do the level 1 and 2 is my personal opinion. So do take that as just personal, not a JTL opinion. If you were my child, for example, I'd be recommending you went straight in and did a level 3 apprenticeship. Because why not? You think you could start at 16, you could be fully qualified by the time you were 20, doing it that way. So you can make your own judgments, have a look at what your choices are, and again, it might be something, it can be an advantage. So say, for example, those of you saying you can't find an employer, here's where there can be an advantage to doing the technical certificate. You can show that willing, get that sort of experience behind you, and show you really, really, really wanted to be an electrician, but rather than wasting that year doing either nothing at all or something you weren't that interested in, but I would say still keep looking. If you just did your level 1, there's nothing wrong with you going on straight into your level 3 and missing out the level 2 and doing a full apprenticeship then. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, there are definitely pros and cons, but personally, I like the way we do it. And it's comfortably with me that you can go straight into doing the apprenticeship at level 3 with us.
Brilliant. Well, guys, that sort of brings us to the end of the hour slot that we had booked in. Have you got any final words you want to say to everybody?
I just send one other question in the chat from Alfie. Yes, we do. You need for the electrical course, it's the on-site guide, the 18th edition regs book, and also guidance note 3 is the 3 books that we use.
Okay.
And then just in general, like I said, if anyone's looking for an apprenticeship, register on our website. There's definite benefits to being with JTL over colleges in some senses, like Nikki said. But if you've got any questions, head to our website. Also, some of our contact details are in the chat, so don't hesitate to give us a shout.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. Well, just to say that we have recorded this session, so that'll be appearing on the Career Map website in the next few days under the Career Map Live section. So if anybody had to go, or they want to refer to it any time, please feel free to come back and have a look there. And we'll also be running a lot more live webinars this week for National Apprenticeship Week. So go to www.nationalapprenticeshipweek.co.uk and have a look at some of the other events that we've got planned, and hopefully we'll see you there. But thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay safe. We'll sign off now. Take care.